I'm not gay now, but I was gay all my life. I believe I was one of the first gay people to come out. But God let me know that he made Adam be with Eve, not Steve.
In a world that still struggles to fully accept LGBTQ plus identities, being gay is tough enough. But being both black and gay in the spotlight? That's a whole different level of pressure. From groundbreaking legends to rising stars, here are 20 black actors who reportedly tried to hide their secret gay affairs, and the truth that eventually surfaced. 1. Noble Johnson. Noble Johnson was quite the pioneer, becoming one of the first black actors to make it big in silent films. Born in 1881, this guy had serious range. He could play anything from Native Americans to Arabs to Mexicans, thanks to his mixed heritage and chameleon-like acting skills. Johnson founded the Lincoln Motion Picture Company in 1916, making him one of the earliest black film producers in Hollywood. The whispers about Johnson's personal life started swirling around the 1920s. Hollywood insiders claimed he had romantic relationships with several male actors from his production company. His close friendship with actor George Johnson raised eyebrows when they were spotted together at private parties that were, shall we say, very discreet affairs. Johnson never married, which was unusual for a successful man of his era and social standing. The most persistent rumors centered around his relationship with actor Clarence Brooks, who appeared in several Lincoln Motion Picture Company films. The two men lived together for several years, officially as business partners and roommates. However, industry gossip suggested their partnership extended far beyond professional matters. Johnson was known to be extremely private about his personal life, rarely giving interviews that touched on anything beyond his work. What made Johnson's situation particularly tricky was his need to maintain a respectable public image as a business owner and community leader. The black press of the time was especially protective of successful black figures, so any scandalous stories were typically kept under wraps. Johnson's secret reportedly became an open secret within certain Hollywood circles, but it never made it to the mainstream press during his lifetime. 2. Clarence Muse. Clarence Muse was the ultimate multi-talent, actor, composer, writer, and all-around Renaissance man. Born in 1889, he appeared in over 150 films and even wrote the song "When It's Sleepy Time Down South," which became Louis Armstrong's theme song. Muse was also a lawyer and a serious intellectual, which made the gossip about his private life even more intriguing to Hollywood observers. The rumors about Muse began in the 1930s when he was frequently seen in the company of younger male actors and musicians. His close relationship with actor Rex Ingram sparked considerable chatter, especially when they were spotted together at jazz clubs in Harlem during Muse's frequent trips to New York. The two men shared a passion for music and theater, but some suggested their connection was more intimate than professional. Muse's marriage to Ophelia Butler in 1912 produced a son, but colleagues noticed that he often traveled alone and maintained separate living arrangements even when working in the same city as his family. His frequent correspondence with various male friends included letters that, according to those who saw them, contained unusually affectionate language for the time period. The most persistent stories involved Muse's relationship with a young composer named James, who worked as his musical arranger. The two were inseparable during the late 1930s, with James often staying at Muse's Los Angeles residence for weeks at a time. When James suddenly disappeared from Muse's circle around 1940, industry insiders whispered that Muse's wife had discovered the relationship and issued an ultimatum. 3. Dooley Wilson. Dooley Wilson became immortal as Sam the piano player in Casablanca, delivering the famous line, "Play it again." Born in 1886, Wilson was primarily a drummer and singer who stumbled into acting almost by accident. Ironically, he couldn't actually play piano. They dubbed his piano playing in Casablanca. The gossip about Wilson started during his vaudeville days in the 1910s. He traveled extensively with various musical acts, and his fellow performers often whispered about his romantic preferences. Wilson had a reputation for forming intense friendships with younger male musicians, particularly drummers and singers who were just starting their careers. His relationship with musician Bobby Martin raised the most eyebrows. The two met in a Chicago jazz club in the early 1920s and became inseparable. They toured together, shared hotel rooms, and Martin even moved to Los Angeles when Wilson started getting more film work. Studio executives were reportedly concerned about their closeness and suggested Wilson might need a wife for publicity purposes. Wilson did marry Grace Johnson in 1949, but it was widely considered a marriage of convenience. Grace was a former chorus girl who was also rumored to prefer the company of women. Their arrangement allowed both to maintain respectable public images while pursuing their actual romantic interests privately. Wilson continued his close relationship with Martin until Martin's death in 1954, after which Wilson became increasingly reclusive. 4. Robert Earl Jones. Robert Earl Jones, father of the legendary James Earl Jones, was a talented actor in his own right, though he struggled with the limited opportunities available to black actors in the 1930s and 1940s. Born in 1910, he appeared in films like The Sting and Trading Places later in his career, but his early years were marked by both professional struggles and personal secrets. The elder Jones had a complicated personal life that included abandoning his family when James Earl was young. However, the real story behind his departure was more complex than simple irresponsibility. Industry insiders claimed that Jones was involved in a romantic relationship with a male theater director in New York, and his wife had discovered the affair. The most persistent rumors involved Jones's relationship with a wealthy white theater patron who reportedly supported him financially in exchange for companionship. This arrangement allowed Jones to pursue his acting career without worrying about money, but it also required absolute discretion. The relationship allegedly ended when the patron's family discovered the affair and threatened to cut off his inheritance. 5. Howard Rollins. Howard Rollins burst onto the scene with his powerful performance in Ragtime, earning an Academy Award nomination and seemingly launching what should have been a brilliant career. Born in 1950, Rollins was strikingly handsome and incredibly talented, but his personal struggles would eventually overshadow his professional achievements. The rumors about Rollins's sexuality began almost immediately after his breakout role. He was rarely seen with women at Hollywood events, and when he did have female companions, they were often obviously just friends or industry connections. His close relationships with several male actors and crew members fueled constant speculation in entertainment circles. Rollins's most significant relationship was reportedly with a male costume designer he met on the set of A Soldier's Story. The two were frequently spotted together at gay clubs in West Hollywood, though they were careful to arrive and leave separately. The costume designer, who was openly gay within industry circles, was said to be deeply in love with Rollins, who struggled with accepting his own sexuality. The pressure of hiding his true self, combined with the stress of being one of the few prominent black actors in Hollywood, reportedly contributed to Rollins's well-documented struggles with substance abuse. Friends said he used drugs and alcohol partly to cope with the anxiety of maintaining his closeted lifestyle. His relationship with the costume designer ended badly when Rollins, under pressure from his management team, publicly dated a female model for publicity purposes. 6. Juano Hernandez. Juano Hernandez was a groundbreaking Afro-Puerto Rican actor who broke barriers in both theater and film. Born in 1896, he was one of the first black actors to play non-stereotypical roles in major Hollywood productions, including Intruder in the Dust and The Breaking Point. Hernandez never married, which was unusual for a successful actor of his generation. He lived quietly in New York, rarely attending Hollywood social events or engaging in the typical publicity activities expected of stars. His private nature fueled speculation about his personal life, particularly his close friendships with several male actors and directors. The most persistent rumors involved Hernandez's relationship with a Broadway director who cast him in several productions during the 1940s. The two men were frequently seen dining together at discreet restaurants in Greenwich Village, an area known for its tolerance of unconventional relationships. Letters between them, discovered years later, revealed an intimate friendship that many interpreted as romantic. Hernandez's career was also marked by his relationship with a young actor named Miguel, who served as his unofficial companion and assistant for over a decade. Miguel accompanied Hernandez to film shoots and theater productions, officially as his manager, but functioning more like a devoted partner. When Miguel died suddenly in 1955, Hernandez reportedly went into a deep depression that affected his work for several years. 7. Donny Hathaway. Donny Hathaway wasn't primarily an actor, but his few film appearances and his tragic story make him worth including. Born in 1945, Hathaway was an incredibly gifted soul musician who recorded classics like The Ghetto and duets with Roberta Flack, including Killing Me Softly and Where Is the Love. The rumors about Hathaway's sexuality were whispered about in music industry circles throughout his career. He was married to Eulalia Hathaway and had 2 daughters, but colleagues noticed his close friendships with various male musicians and producers. His relationship with producer Jerry Wexler was particularly scrutinized, especially when Wexler would visit Hathaway's home studio for extended periods. The most persistent story involved Hathaway's friendship with Curtis Mayfield, another soul legend. The two musicians spent considerable time together, both professionally and socially, leading to speculation about the nature of their relationship. When Hathaway died by suicide in 1979, jumping from a hotel window, some close friends suggested that his inner turmoil about his sexuality contributed to his tragic decision. 8. Nick Stewart. Nick Stewart was best known for playing Lightnin' on the radio and TV show Amos and Andy, though he later founded the Ebony Showcase Theater in Los Angeles. Born in 1910, Stewart was a versatile performer who worked in radio, television, and theater throughout his long career. Stewart's personal life was the subject of considerable speculation, particularly his long bachelorhood and his close relationships with various male actors and directors. His friendship with fellow Amos and Andy cast member Tim Moore was especially scrutinized, as the two men often socialized together away from the studio. The most persistent rumors centered around Stewart's relationship with a young actor named David, who worked at the Ebony Showcase Theater. David served as Stewart's assistant director and constant companion, accompanying him to industry events and living in Stewart's home for several years. Their relationship was so close that some theater colleagues assumed they were partners, though both men were discreet about their private lives. Stewart eventually married later in life, but entertainment industry insiders suggested it was primarily for companionship and respectability, rather than romance. His wife was a former actress who was also rumored to prefer women, making their union a mutually beneficial arrangement that allowed both to maintain conventional public images. 9. Rex Ingram. Rex Ingram was a powerful character actor who appeared in films like The Green Pastures and Cabin in the Sky. Born in 1895, Ingram was known for his imposing presence and deep voice, making him perfect for playing authority figures and spiritual leaders. Ingram was married to actress Francine Everett, but their relationship was reportedly more professional than romantic. Colleagues noticed that they rarely appeared together socially, and Ingram often traveled alone or with male companions. His close friendship with actor Clarence Muse raised eyebrows, particularly when they were frequently spotted together at private parties and cultural events. Ingram's career was also marked by his relationship with a young actor who served as his protege and constant companion. The actor appeared in several films with Ingram and was frequently seen at his side during public appearances. When the young actor suddenly left Hollywood in the late 1940s, industry insiders whispered that studio pressure had forced them to end their relationship. 10. Canada Lee. Canada Lee was a remarkable figure, a former boxer turned actor and civil rights activist who broke significant barriers in both theater and film. Born in 1907, Lee appeared in films like Lifeboat and Body and Soul, becoming one of the first black actors to play complex, non-stereotypical roles in major productions. Lee was married twice, but both marriages were brief and ended in divorce. His personal life was the subject of considerable speculation, particularly his intense friendships with various male actors, writers, and activists. His relationship with writer Richard Wright, author of Native Son, was especially scrutinized when Lee starred in the stage adaptation of Wright's novel. Lee's friendship with actor Robert Earl Jones was also the subject of speculation. The two men appeared together in several productions and were often spotted at private parties in Harlem. Their correspondence revealed a deep emotional connection that some interpreted as romantic, though both men were careful to maintain public images as dedicated family men and community leaders. 11. Jermaine Stewart. Jermaine Stewart burst onto the music scene in the 1980s with his infectious hit, We Don't Have to Take Our Clothes Off, a song that ironically became a dance floor anthem while promoting abstinence. Born in 1957, Stewart was a flamboyant performer who worked as a backup dancer for Shalimar before launching his solo career. His energetic stage presence and distinctive voice made him a MTV favorite during the network's early years. Stewart's sexuality was probably the worst-kept secret in the music industry. He was openly effeminate in his mannerisms and fashion choices, often wearing makeup and flashy outfits that pushed gender boundaries. However, his record label worked overtime to keep any romantic relationships out of the public eye. Stewart reportedly had a long-term relationship with a male dancer named Marcus, who appeared in several of his music videos, though they were always introduced as just friends or creative collaborators. The singer's closest relationship was with a British music producer named Simon, who worked on his later albums. The two men were frequently spotted together in London clubs, and Simon often stayed at Stewart's Los Angeles home for extended periods. Industry insiders knew they were a couple, but the arrangement worked because Simon stayed behind the scenes and rarely appeared in photographs with Stewart. The most telling aspect of Stewart's private life was his relationship with his family. His mother was reportedly very supportive of his career, but struggled with accepting his lifestyle. Stewart often spoke about feeling caught between his authentic self and the expectations placed on him as a black male performer. He confided to close friends that the pressure to maintain a straight public image while being true to himself was exhausting. 12. Billy Daniels. Billy Daniels was the suave crooner who made That Old Black Magic his signature tune, performing it over 5,000 times throughout his career. Born in 1915, Daniels was known for his sophisticated style and theatrical performances that made him a favorite in nightclubs from New York to Las Vegas. He was often called the Black Sinatra for his smooth delivery and charismatic stage presence. Daniels married 3 times, but entertainment industry gossip suggested that these marriages were more about maintaining his image than genuine romance. His first wife, Pierrette, was a French actress who rarely appeared with him in public after their initial publicity photos. Colleagues noticed that Daniels seemed more relaxed and animated when surrounded by his male friends and collaborators. His relationship with pianist and arranger Gerald Cook raised eyebrows throughout the 1940s and 1950s. Cook accompanied Daniels on tours and recordings, and the two men shared hotel suites and apartments in various cities. Their professional partnership was so close that Cook essentially functioned as Daniels' musical director and personal manager, making all the creative decisions for his performances. The most persistent rumors involved Daniels' friendship with actor and singer Herb Jeffries, who was also known for his romantic leading man roles in black Western films. The two were frequently seen together at private parties in Los Angeles, and their correspondence included letters with unusually affectionate language. When Jeffries moved to Europe in the 1960s, Daniels reportedly visited him several times a year, always traveling alone. Daniels' nightclub performances often included subtle references and double entendres that gay audience members recognized and appreciated. He had a particular following in cities with large LGBTQ+ communities, and club owners noticed that his shows attracted an unusually diverse crowd. 13. Cab Calloway. Cab Calloway was the ultimate showman, famous for his Heidi-Heidi-Heidi-Ho scat singing and his energetic performances leading his orchestra at the Cotton Club. Born in 1907, Calloway was a master of entertainment who appeared in films like Stormy Weather and influenced generations of performers with his flamboyant style and musical innovations. Despite being married to his childhood sweetheart Winona and later to Zulme, Calloway's private life included relationships that raised questions among his fellow musicians. His close friendship with dancer and choreographer Fayard Nicholas of the Nicholas Brothers was particularly scrutinized. The two men spent considerable time together, both professionally and socially, often traveling together when their performance schedules aligned. Calloway's relationship with his male wardrobe designer, a flamboyant man named Charles who created his famous white tails and flashy stage costumes, was the subject of considerable gossip. Charles lived in Calloway's Westchester County home for several years, officially as his personal stylist and assistant, but band members noticed their unusually intimate friendship and frequent private conversations. The band leader's touring lifestyle provided opportunities for discreet relationships that wouldn't have been possible if he had maintained a more conventional domestic life. His musicians whispered about his friendships with various male performers they encountered on the road, particularly a young trumpet player named Tommy, who joined the band in 1934 and became Calloway's constant companion both on and off stage. What made Calloway's situation particularly complex was his role as a family man and community leader. He had 2 daughters and maintained a respectable public image, but close friends noticed that he seemed most comfortable and animated when surrounded by the theatrical world of male performers, dancers, and musicians who understood the art of creating and maintaining a public persona. 14. Alvin Ailey. Alvin Ailey revolutionized American dance with his powerful choreography and the founding of the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater in 1958. Born in 1931, Ailey created iconic works like Revelations that celebrated African American culture and spirituality while pushing the boundaries of modern dance. His company became one of the most successful dance troupes in the world. Ailey never married and was relatively open about his homosexuality within the dance world, though he remained private about his personal relationships in public interviews. The dance community was generally more accepting of diverse sexualities than other entertainment fields, but Ailey still felt pressure to be discreet about his romantic life, particularly as his company gained mainstream recognition. Ailey's struggles with his identity went beyond just his sexuality. He dealt with periods of depression and self-doubt that were partly related to the pressure of being a prominent black artist who also happened to be gay. He confided to close friends that he sometimes felt isolated, carrying the weight of representing his race, while also hiding an essential part of his identity from the broader public. 15. Billy Strayhorn. Billy Strayhorn was the brilliant composer and arranger who wrote "Take Thee a Train," which became Duke Ellington's signature tune. Born in 1915, Strayhorn was a musical genius who collaborated with Ellington for nearly 3 decades, creating some of the most sophisticated and beautiful compositions in jazz history. Despite his enormous talent, he often remained in the background, letting Ellington take credit for their collaborative works. Strayhorn was one of the few jazz musicians of his era who was relatively open about his homosexuality, at least within certain circles. He never attempted to hide his effeminate mannerisms or his romantic relationships with men, though he was careful about how much attention he drew to his personal life. His openness was possible partly because of his close relationship with Duke Ellington, who protected him and valued his contributions too much to worry about conventional social expectations. His most significant relationship was with Aaron Bridgers, a fellow musician and arranger who lived with Strayhorn for many years. The two men shared an apartment in Harlem and later moved to a house in Queens, living as an openly gay couple within their social circle. Bridgers often accompanied Strayhorn to recording sessions and performances, and their relationship was accepted by most of the musicians in Ellington's orbit. Strayhorn's lifestyle included regular attendance at gay parties and gatherings in Harlem, where he was known for his wit, his piano playing, and his sophisticated taste in everything from music to food to fashion. He was particularly close to a group of gay artists and intellectuals who gathered regularly at various apartments and clubs, creating a supportive community that allowed him to be authentic about his identity. The composer's relationship with Ellington was complex and went beyond their professional collaboration. Some observers suggested that Ellington's protective attitude towards Strayhorn included romantic feelings, though neither man ever confirmed such speculation. What was clear was that their partnership allowed Strayhorn to live more openly than most gay men of his era, creating music that reflected both his artistic genius and his authentic self. 16. Little Richard. Little Richard was the wildest, most flamboyant performer in rock and roll history, screaming his way through hits like Tutti Frutti and Good Golly Miss Molly while wearing makeup, high heels, and the most outrageous outfits imaginable. Born Richard Wayne Penniman in 1932, he essentially invented the blueprint for rock star excess and theatrical performance that influenced everyone from Elvis Presley to David Bowie. Richard's sexuality was complicated and contradictory throughout his life. He would sometimes claim to be gay, then deny it, then embrace it again, often depending on whether he was in his religious phase or his performing phase. His flamboyant stage persona and obvious comfort with gender-bending presentation made his sexuality a constant topic of speculation and gossip. His relationship with drummer Charles Connor was particularly scrutinized during the height of his fame in the 1950s. Connor traveled with Richard's band and was frequently seen as his constant companion, leading to persistent rumors about their relationship. Richard's habit of sharing hotel rooms with male band members and his preference for surrounding himself with attractive young men fueled ongoing speculation. His struggle with his identity was compounded by his deep religious beliefs and his upbringing in the South, where homosexuality was heavily stigmatized. He would sometimes perform in drag or make overtly sexual comments about men, then later claim he was delivered from homosexuality through prayer. This internal conflict created a pattern of coming out and going back into the closet that continued throughout his life, making him one of the most complicated figures in rock and roll history. 17. Bayard Rustin. Bayard Rustin was the brilliant strategist behind the 1963 March on Washington, though his contributions to the civil rights movement were often downplayed due to his homosexuality. Born in 1912, Rustin was a master organizer who understood both the power of nonviolent protest and the importance of building coalitions across different communities and causes. Rustin's sexuality was an open secret within civil rights circles, but it remained a constant source of tension and strategic concern. He had been arrested for homosexual activity in the 1940s, and opponents of the civil rights movement frequently used his sexual orientation to try to discredit the entire movement. This forced him to work behind the scenes more often than his talents and contributions deserved. His most significant relationship was with Walter Nagel, a much younger man he met in the 1970s. The two men lived together openly and were accepted within their social circle, though Rustin remained careful about public appearances that might compromise his effectiveness as an activist. Nagel became Rustin's partner in every sense, supporting his work and sharing his life until Rustin's death in 1987. Rustin's earlier relationships included a long partnership with Davis Platt, a white activist and intellectual who shared his commitment to social justice. The interracial nature of their relationship added another layer of complexity to Rustin's situation, as he navigated not only homophobia, but also racism within both the civil rights movement and the broader society. What made Rustin's situation particularly challenging was his belief that his personal life shouldn't be hidden, even though political necessity often required discretion. He was proud of who he was and refused to be ashamed of his sexuality, but he also understood that his effectiveness as an organizer sometimes depended on keeping certain aspects of his life private. This balance between authenticity and strategic thinking made him a complex and admirable figure. 18. Luther Vandross. Luther Vandross had one of the smoothest, most romantic voices in R&B history, creating classics like Never Too Much and Here and Now that became soundtrack staples for countless romantic moments. Born in 1951, Vandross was a perfectionist who crafted his image as carefully as he crafted his music, becoming known for his sophisticated style and his ability to make women swoon with his love songs. The irony of Vandross's career was that he became famous for singing about heterosexual romance while reportedly living a completely different personal life. Industry insiders knew that he was gay, but his management team worked incredibly hard to keep any romantic relationships out of the public eye. Vandross himself was extremely private about his personal life, rarely discussing dating or relationships in interviews. Vandross's weight struggles were well documented throughout his career, but some close friends suggested that his eating issues were partly related to the stress of hiding his true identity. The pressure of maintaining a romantic leading man image while being unable to be authentic about his own romantic life reportedly contributed to his emotional eating and his difficulty maintaining a healthy lifestyle. The singer's reluctance to discuss his personal life became almost legendary in the entertainment industry. He would deflect questions about dating with humor or change the subject entirely, leading to persistent speculation about why such a successful and attractive man seemed to have no romantic life. His death in 2005 ended decades of speculation, but he never publicly acknowledged his sexuality, taking his secrets with him. 19. Sammy Davis, Jr. Sammy Davis Jr. was the ultimate entertainer, a singer, dancer, actor, and comedian who could do everything except escape the rumors about his personal life. Born in 1925, Davis was part of the famous Rat Pack with Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, performing in Las Vegas and appearing in films like Ocean's 11. His talent was undeniable, but his private life was the subject of constant speculation and gossip. Davis's sexual orientation was a frequent topic of Hollywood gossip, particularly his close relationships with various male performers and his reputation for wild parties that included both men and women. His marriage to actress Mae Britt was seen by some as an attempt to deflect rumors about his sexuality, though others believed it was genuine love that happened to serve a useful public relations purpose. The most persistent rumors involved Davis's relationship with several male dancers and choreographers throughout his career. His friendship with a dancer named Tony was particularly scrutinized, as the two men were inseparable during Davis's peak years in Las Vegas. Tony officially worked as Davis's choreographer and creative consultant, but their relationship appeared to extend far beyond professional collaboration. Davis's lifestyle included legendary parties at his Beverly Hills home that attracted celebrities, politicians, and entertainment industry figures. These gatherings were known for their anything-goes atmosphere, and attendees often whispered about Davis's flirtations with both male and female guests. His openness about his bisexuality within certain social circles was an open secret that never made it into mainstream media coverage. What made Davis's situation particularly complex was his position as one of the few black performers with mainstream crossover success during the civil rights era. He felt pressure to maintain a respectable public image while also being true to his artistic and personal nature. His friendship with Frank Sinatra provided some protection from gossip and scandal, but it also meant he had to be careful not to embarrass the Rat Pack with any public revelations about his private life. 20. Paul Winfield. Paul Winfield was a distinguished actor who brought dignity and intelligence to every role he played, from Sounder to Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, to his television work on shows like Julia and Ella Law. Born in 1939, Winfield was one of the first black actors to consistently play complex, non-stereotypical characters in both film and television, paving the way for future generations of performers. Winfield never married and was extremely private about his personal relationships throughout his career. Industry insiders knew he was gay, but he maintained such discretion about his romantic life that few details ever emerged, even years after his death. His approach to privacy was professional and dignified, focusing public attention on his work rather than his personal life. His most significant relationship was reportedly with architect Charles Gillen Jr., whom he met in the 1970s. The two men lived together quietly for over 2 decades, with Gillen supporting Winfield's career while maintaining his own successful architectural practice. Their relationship was known to close friends and colleagues, but they were so discreet that it rarely attracted media attention or industry gossip. The actor's death from a heart attack in 2004 prompted tributes that focused on his talent and professionalism, with many colleagues noting his kindness and generosity to younger actors. His partner Gillen inherited his estate and continued to protect Winfield's privacy even after his death, rarely giving interviews or discussing their relationship publicly. This discretion honored Winfield's wishes and maintained the dignified image he had carefully cultivated throughout his career. Thank you for watching and seeing you in the next one.